Welcome to show 73 of the Cloth Diaper podcast. This is our special third anniversary show. It is a conversation with one of the first supporters and the first brands that I had on the Cloth Diaper podcast. When I met Anna virtually 3 years ago to sit down and talk about cloth diapering, I don't think I ever expected for our relationship and the support that she gave me and the support back to kind of grow the way it is and has. So today is just about almost an hour-long conversation of the two of us chatting about some questions that you guys had for us, as well as many cloth diaper tangents about what is going on now, what has gone on, and the role in the future that we see of the cloth diaper industry. If you're new here and this is your first time tuning into the Cloth Diaper podcast, my name is Bailey. I am the host of the Cloth Diaper podcast, and this is a space where we tell stories from cloth diaper brands, parents, and retailers around the world. It's an opportunity to be more transparent and more open about what goes on in the cloth diaper industry. So much about cloth diapering happens online, on the internet, and behind a keyboard. Through the Cloth Diaper podcast, I had kind of hoped that we could maybe change the narrative and change the rhetoric of cloth diapering. We are seeing that happen, and I am so excited for the future of cloth diapering as we continue to be more open and more inclusive in some ways about the wide array of different cloth diaper experiences. Because cloth diapering is not this or that, but instead so many passionate, crazy entrepreneurs behind the scenes trying to support you in doing whatever you want to do. I just want to give you a heads up that Anna's audio quality is not good. I spent a lot of time trying to get this to sound good. I would recommend that you don't listen to it with your headphones on, and that you probably listen to it in a loud room or in your car, because she has a lot of static, and I just couldn't kill that static. But we are an indie podcast that is recorded from my home in northern British Columbia, and I have zero audio editing skills besides that which I learn by doing. So thank you for your support. If you would like to hire me a professional podcast editor, I'm always open for donations and sponsored posts. So thank you. This is your warning. So where's Nerdy Mommas today? What have you done and achieved over the last 3 years? My reason for having you on the show is because I'm like, I want some of your...
Oh my God. Crazy. So 3 years ago, I was halfway through my first release, right? Yeah. So since then, we've done 2 more releases and 6 prints in the second one, 6 prints in the third one. And I'm actually finishing up the design work for my 4th release. I know a lot of companies, they do like a release every like quarter, it seems like. And I just like, I can't keep up with that. And I just feel like it's so funny because people are like, oh, when are you putting out new stuff? I'm like, y'all gotta be happy with what I have. We are here to conserve and to not create more weight. So like, I feel like, sticking with the yearly, especially now, like trying to do every single year, do a new release, kind of jives more with my overall philosophy on like not saturating the market, not overbuying. Because if I'm only offering you 6 new things a year, you can't blame me when you have 500.
I mean, they could. Somebody could just buy 500 of the exact same print. And you released your solids. You released solids earlier this year for your pockets, correct?
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that release because it was just like I wanted to just, fill a need in the market. And it was so easy to do because I didn't have to design anything. I just was like, the hardest part was definitely picking the colors though. They send you like a swatch of like 80 different colors and I'm flipping through them and I'm like, oh God, I can only pick 3. What do I do? Yeah, I really, really wanted, because I see so many people looking for like good quality diapers, but they don't want to spend $15, $20, even $25 on a single diaper. So I was like, well, if I can offer you 3 diapers for $25. That seems like it would be great to, just get people started. And I mean, it's doing really well. I have the covers in the pockets, and then you can add the inserts for like an additional, I think it's $10 more. I should know this. This is my product. Yeah, it's $35 for the added inserts. But again, you're not getting microfiber inserts, so it's not like, you get this system and then you're like, oh, now I have to buy more stuff. So, that was the mentality behind it. And I think it's good. Obviously, they're not like super cute prints, but, I tried to theme them after something that was like the within the already do the Pokemon this time. So, but I mean, even diapers aside, I've added so many like things to the website, like leggings now, you can get t-shirts now, you can get little zipper pouches. I think my new favorite thing are the the hooded bath towels for babies, because like I'm looking at these bath towels on making my registry and stuff, and I'm like, wait, why am I my bath towels? What am I doing? I was like, I kind of forgot that I had them for a second, but they're super cute, and it's like, especially if you really like to theme stuff, they make really nice like novelty gifts. Like if you have like a parent that who likes a certain fandom or something, you can they make really cute gifts. Plus, you can match stuff. Like I got to the point now where you can pretty much like piece an entire like nursery theme together.
So I had asked in your group for some questions, and I have a couple of questions, and I think we should start with Amanda Armstrong's, because people who haven't listened to the first show won't know this. And she asks, how did you get the idea behind the brand, and who supported the idea the most to encourage you to do what you've been doing?
Oh, okay. So the idea definitely came out of seeing, I'm going to talk some trash for a second here, seeing like other places would create these designs and these prints with fandom-y pop culture images, but blatantly like taken off the internet, like Google image searched and like just slapped it on a diaper. And there was never a good place to like ask a question other than, where can I buy something? There was no like, how do I do this? How do I do that? What do I do if I'm having a problem? There was almost no support in the majority of these groups. I feel like for the longest time, cloth diaper brands have kind of pushed off the responsibility of educating people on how to do things on like people like you, on bloggers, on influencers. And then of course there's a lot of people who have a platform. They just use it to talk, and then it's like, that's not good information. That's not good information. Figure tying in, quality support and also the reputation of having a business kind of like keeps the two in check. Like I can't be giving out terrible advice and then still expect people to want to buy stuff from me.
So cool about the print thing, like we see so many, especially like Co-op and other brands, they just like they take images off Google and they just platter them on a diaper and they think it's all okay, and it's not great. Well, first of all, you usually get terribly poor quality print. Yeah. And second of all, it's like, that was an artist. But so when you do your prints though, because you design them and then you you have a friend who's a graphic designer, right, who digitizes them for you. It's just like,
it was also a mom, so it kind of kept in that nerdy mama.
It's just this like beautiful support of artists. And like, I think that is such an important element of cloth diapering. We have these beautiful prints on, and I know every now and then Apple Cheeks will remember to tag their designer. And Kindercloth, you follow Kindercloth on TikTok? She's a graphic designer too. I just saw that TikTok, and it's just like, why are we taking crap off Google when there's so many talented artists in our industry that we could just like support?
Kind of reminds me of that graphic that was circulating at the beginning of COVID that was talking about like the least important job. One of them was artist, and then like the bottom caption was like, the artist creating this graphic.
Yeah, like as a content, like I'm a writer, which also feels like equally unimportant sometimes to artistry, but like I've never been busier in my life. Like people need graphics, they need writing, and it's just like whether or not you're actually going to pay someone for their time or not, that's a huge topic you and I talk about a lot in our DMs, about paying people feeling like they're people giving away their time and all of that kind of thing, which maybe this is a good question here that I see that Amber LaPera wrote, which is, what have you learned along your journey as a small business owner in this niche market?
I'm still trying to figure out how to best quantify, put value on my time and efforts. If I could, honestly, I would, put out $10 diapers and, do more releases and give people more stuff because like, I just want to make it as accessible as possible. But then like the reality is that I can't effectively run a business if I just give stuff away. It's a struggle because it's like, there's also competing with other businesses that are like so much bigger and I have to like kind of put the blinders on and just kind of focus on what I'm doing. Should I have grown more than I did in the last few years? Like, should I be doing more? But then again, I do what I can where I can.
Well, and you're so niche. That's like, and we've talked about that. Like, it's just like
within the niche community of cloth diapering, there is the niche community of, just being a dork, I guess. I think also that's kind of why I thrive on TikTok so much is because like the humor that kind of kickstarted TikTok is like the humor that I was like so used to like just kind of doing and being in, even when I was in middle school and high school and then like early college. It's like, oh, we're just goofing off. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
I have a really hard time with TikTok because I just want to be snarky, but I know that like when I stopped being snarky, like it was really good for my mental health though. So
That's true too. That whole I try not to get into drama, like the whole content creator that will remain nameless. Like there is one person that keeps commenting and they're like, can you just tell me who it is? And I'm just like, I'm gonna ignore this comment now because I've already addressed why I'm not naming this. It also depends on like when you started. Like I've been on TikTok since like 2018, like right when they went from being Musically to being TikTok. So like all of the original trash that we were doing, I was just like, oh, this is funny to me. And but yeah, they've gotten a lot better, obviously, because I think their technology has gotten better. But I mean, sometimes I get on TikTok and I'm like, I didn't come here to be attacked. Like, why are you calling me out so hard with some of these videos? I shouldn't relate to this.
TikTok has been like a really great resource, I guess, for I've seen you use to kind of answering Amber's question here about how you've helped grow your niche community to become more mainstream. I mean, you market yourself as the CEO of Cloth Diaper TikTok. You're just going to own that label and you're just going to go with it.
I am forever. Until somebody surpasses me, then I don't know. I'll form a two.
We could just start teams. I mean, you can have more than one CEO. Someone could be CEO of Cloth Nappy TikTok. We're good. I think like one thing I've been kind of thinking about when I like talk to people in my DMs lately has just been like, just claim things. Like don't wait for someone to appoint you suddenly something. You can go give as much wash routine advice as me. Like you honestly don't know anything more than me. I mean, we're all just people, right? Like
exactly. No, that's one thing that I try not to gatekeep is wash routine advice. Going back to like what I've done to grow my niche, like because I have my TikTok following, and I do so much better there than like no one likes me on Instagram. Like I'm not friends with me.
It's just me taking you and
yeah, you and Jay, and that's like it. And then every so often someone's like, oh, that's cute, I guess I'll like her picture.
It's the aesthetic. I struggle so much with the Instagram aesthetic. It's just like, I'm not that cute. I'm more like
they're good though, so I mean that works no matter where you are.
Yeah.
But on Facebook, like I'm really impressed with how my Facebook group has grown, because like one of the things that I'm really adamant about is if you're going to give an answer to somebody's question, I want to know, did it work for you, or is it something that you heard from somebody who heard it from somebody else? Because if you heard it from somewhere and you haven't executed it yourself, I don't want you sharing it. And if you can't give me like a reason about why you're saying this, then it's probably not valid, just because there's so much bad information circulating.
Well, and so when I was like thinking about one day I wanted to be an admin, all I was doing was just repeating what people were saying to me with no other context. And we've all played telephone in 4th grade where we learned that at the end of the day, it just ended up into some sort of garbage. And that's what the Cloth Diaper community has been doing for a decade. And that's why I love and why I started the show is like, let's just get to the point. Let's just talk to Anna directly and find out what her deal is, instead of like assuming 6 years later that it's because somebody screwed her over.
But even like the absorbency videos, like you posted one the other day, and I was like, I've been looking for this exact specific video because people keep asking me like, which one absorbs the best, which one absorbs the fastest, and I'm at a point now where if somebody tells me that you have to use microfiber because it's fast absorbing, I'm going to kick you in the head because that's not true. It does absorb quickly, but just as quickly as it absorbs, it's going to squeeze right out. But cotton and bamboo.
The reason I reposted that was because I was on the phone with somebody and we were also talking about textiles, and it was just like, yes, faster. But when we say faster, we literally mean by like 2 seconds. You can't watch it happen. And that video, I can remember like redoing that so many times, being like, I'm sure I'm doing this wrong. Like maybe I've got the wrong, like I've tried so many products that it's complete baloney, and I just want to smack everybody on the head. And I don't know where this rumor came from. I don't know where this whole like textile speed thing came from.
But it sounds good. And no question it. And that's where I've been trying to break the mold, because like even stuff like, you can only use powdered detergent, and then like one step above that is you can only use Tide powdered detergent. Okay, so that happens when someone's allergic to Tide. Like, what happens then? They just can't. Like what are you saying? Like for every one rule that I've seen, there's always been like a handful of people that are like, well, that works for me. So does that mean that I can't do it because you're telling me I can? It's like, that shouldn't be how we're telling people, how to do stuff. Like if it works for you, then you should do it. I love the conversation around like pod detergents, because people will say, oh, you can't do that. It's like, well, you can if that's what is most accessible to you. Like I know when we went to Greece back in 2019, we had a washing machine in the Airbnb that we were staying in, but almost all the detergent over there comes in pods. Nobody uses like the liquid or it's like scoop detergent. But for, cheaper stuff, and also if we're only going to be there for 2 weeks, do I need, a 50 pack? No, you don't need that much. But the pod, so it's like if I was cloth diapering at that time and I didn't know that I can just make the situation work for me, I would have been like, oh crap, now we got to buy disposables because I can't use the pods.
So this is becoming like, so for listeners, I mean, we've really kind of deviated from these questions, which is fine, which is what I expected to happen. But this is actually becoming an international problem. The more internationals that I talk to, so I've been talking with parents from the Maldives and the Philippines and everywhere, and they're struggling within their communities because they're getting North American advice from popular accounts that were 2014, 2015. They're finding old blog posts. They're finding old forums. They're finding people who cloth diapered 5-7 years ago who have this one way or the highway. And then they're looking at what they've got. They're looking at like, we only have pods. Does that mean we can't do this? Or we only have G diapers. Does this mean we can't do this? And so they're struggling. This international community is like, now they're working the same battles that we're working at a North American level, where we're trying to overcome. I feel like we're making some good headway here, and it's repeating all over the world as people find this like one way or the highway information. And I don't think we've ever thought about what the global impact of the stories and the situations that we were saying are. It's so tunnel vision. And so I think that's why my account has grown to be so international, because people are like, we're looking for something, we need some help. And what you guys said was supposed to work isn't doing it. So what do we do now? And I'm just like, I don't know. Just if it works, it works.
Well, like, I think the only thing that I will 100% like stand behind is like, cannot do this, is you cannot use fabric softener and you cannot use dryer sheets.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not telling you this because I don't like it. Like literally I walk down a detergent aisle and I see a bottle of fabric softener, it makes me itch. I'm just like, the reason, but I know tons of people who love and use fabric softener in their regular clothing, psychopath. Yeah. But you can tell somebody, don't do this because it will cause this. Like having a cause and effect. Like we learned that in school. You can't just make a base claim and not back it up with information. Mm-hmm. I've gotten people who will say, they have this number of factors going into their wash routine, and they have this number of resources available to them. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to break the mold of the, traditional wash routine, or I don't even know what that means anymore, but we're going to figure out something that works for you. Like, I have a friend who doesn't have washing in her apartment. She takes everything to the coin laundry, but coin laundry costs like $4 a load, which can be insane. So she does like almost like a hand wash at the end of the day for each change, and then hangs everything to dry. And she does it in her bathtub. And then when it comes time to wash clothes, she washes her diaper laundry with the baby's clothes. And, she already has to wash the baby's clothes, but throwing in the diapers just, makes it so that you're not spending more money to do laundry. Because again, not everybody has access to reliable laundry either. And I feel like that's a huge conversation topic that people just don't want to address, because there's that elitism of, oh, you use disposable diapers? Well, you just must not care about, whatever.
Well, I feel like maybe I just live in a different bubble. I don't feel like I get that a whole lot, but I do. I feel so this is probably where it comes from, is like big groups. They're trying to find an easy answer and say, like, if you just follow this recipe, it's always going to work. And as somebody who's been spending 5 years now saying, well, the recipe doesn't work, just do whatever you make up your own recipe, that is terrifying to people. And so it's just like, how do we re-navigate this? But that's a great way. I actually was trying to tell somebody in my DMs the other day about how to do that for coin op. They were asking me about coin op, and I was like, a lot of people, like, you really want to like hand wash them at home and then bring them all and wash them with everything else. It's very I want to say European, because that's what a lot of Europeans do as well, is they just wash their diapers with their regular clothes every day. Yeah.
Especially like I know in specifically in Cyprus, like your water, if you walk through the village, and I mean literally, like we don't, like there's cities, but most everybody lives in a village, and every house has a mini water tower. Your water is stored in there, and that is the amount of hot water you get for the day, and it's heated by the sun, because that's why it's on top of your roof. So once you've used up all that hot water, you're kind of, and then there's people that will tell you that, oh, well, you have to use hot water. So it's like, what am I supposed to do if I don't have hot water? Like people that, live out of their RVs, or people who, hot water is just an additional utility expense that they don't want to or cannot incur. Like, there has to be a way to change the conversation to allow it to be accessible and universal and inclusive, and all of the things that we like, all those like feel good words that we like to throw around. But
so this is like always what struggles me, is like, I feel like my everyday, and I don't know if this is because I work in public relations or because I'm just like an involved human, is like around this, things have to be inclusive, things have to be diverse. Like this morning, I was already in 2 conference calls where I was like, how do we make this more inclusive? How do we make this more diverse? Like, this is my entire life. So why maybe that's it, is I should get somebody from one of these other big nappy groups to come join me and be like, why are you guys not thinking about this? But that terrifies me, and I just want to do my own thing.
I don't know, I guess there's a lot more big groups than the ones that like I'm even in, because like I get to a point now where I join a group because I'm like curious about like what the dynamic is, what the rhetoric is, what is being said behind, in these private groups. And then like within a week, I'm like, I want you to get me out of here. Because like my most recent TikTok, that people are like, excuse me, what, paying somebody to help you? Like I saw it and I read it like 6 times, and I'm like, is she joking? She has to be joking. So like the post, I was like, oh my god, she's not joking.
Okay, so I'm consulting with a diaper bank right now in Melbourne. I'm not Milwaukee. I'm consulting with a diaper bank in the United States right now, and we're building a paid for course on cloth diapering. And so you would pay to access this course, this webinar, essentially.
Well, but it's no different than your book. Your book has sound quality advice, but you as a person cannot print a book for free. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, so that's where like I kind of get why sometimes groups are at this point where they're charging for advice, like to give advice, because people are getting burnt out. But the problem is, and that's what I did in TikTok, is like, the problem is that we have moved to buying co-op, buying cheap diapers that people don't get paid for their time. And I think that circles back to you as well, recognizing that if you're going to be creating this content and supporting people, your product needs to be able to support your life. Right? And it's like, so the cloth diaper brands need to be supporting those influencers as well, those groups. And I've seen that in my own income streams. I will occasionally get gifted money from a cloth diaper brand, just being like, I love what you're doing. We need to be supporting the people who are supporting the community. And so that's where those groups that are asking for money, they've been let down by the cloth diaper industry, by the cheapy space, by co-ops, by people who will refuse to support us financially.
And it's always like a teetering kind of a thing. Like, we talk about, cheaper diapers could be negatively impacting the community, but I feel like the official Mama Koala company, Alva Baby, Nursery,
who both told me we don't have a budget for you when they approached me and asked me to do a review, and I was like,
that's crazy. That's weird. But they also recently changed their business model, because going back to things that are negatively impacting the community, you've got all of these, I would call them fly-by-night, brands. I like to use brands in quotations because it's just like, it doesn't feel like a legitimate business. Because again, it goes back to the ones that are just like taking random images. Like if you're using the Chick-fil-A logo and the Target logo, or like the Starbucks logo, or like an actor's face, I know for a fact that you did not get Neil Patrick Harris's permission to put his face on a diaper, or, any of those people. Like, they did not give you permission to do that, but you did it because you found a place like Mama Koala that will, fulfill and do the entire back end of your business. And then you just get to reap the benefits of selling a $10 diaper that actually costs you only like maybe $2 to manufacture. And it's like, those people, I feel like that low cost brand niche is negatively impacting the community, because they put out so much variety, and again, not of it is good quality, and then they also don't offer good information. But then you also have like actual Mama Koala, regardless if they're weird, we don't have a budget BS, because that they definitely have a budget, or like Alba or Simply Being, or even Nora's Nursery. Like, that does fill a need in the community, because there are people that can't afford $10, $15, $20 diapers. They need to buy five diapers for $35. Like, they need that.
And I think it's just like trying to come to some sort of balance.
At the same time, having the low cost diapers is good for people who, need to buy, 30 or 40 diapers and they don't want to spend $600 on it. But then on the flip side, people who buy 100 or 200 diapers because they were $5 or $6. It's like, well, I can't tell you how to spend your money, but that feeds into that whole, biggest stash, cutest prints, must have, which again is why I don't do like excessive amounts of releases. Like, every single design that I put out, it's not just like one thing you look at and you're like, oh, it's flowers, or oh, it's, sailboats, or it's lollipops, or, whatever. It's like, I took a whole bunch of different things and I put them together to create something that you're not going to find anywhere else. And while, not everybody's going to appreciate the artistry of it, like when I see it, I feel good about what I made, because it's not, you can't find it anywhere else. And
I think it's listening to this is I feel like I'm starting to laugh, just because it's just there's two polar dynamics in our community, right? Like, there are people who come into cloth diapering for the cute factor and they just consume, and then I also have in my DMs these messages about, why aren't you supporting more environmentally friendly diapering? And you're like, there's two people. There's the ones who do this super conscientious consumerism, and then there's people who are like, just whatever. And you're like, wow.
There's no what's the phrase?
There's no ethical consumerism under capitalism.
It's true though. It's true. Like that whole, and I fall prey to it a lot. Like, agonize
But that saying doesn't mean we can just go consume to our heart's content. I mean, when we say there's no ethical consumption, doesn't mean that we should go buy 7,000 diapers. It means just do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah, it's like when people tell you that, well, cloth diapering doesn't make a difference because you still have to wash your diapers with water. And it's like, yeah, well, you still have to drink water and you still have to wash your own. You get.
So actually, I should, are you on LinkedIn? I'll share this video. It's Bambino Mio was working with the UN. Anyways, they put together this little video about how washing, and they kind of outlined what were the things that you need to do to have less of an environmental impact when washing. And I think that those things are counterintuitive to what a lot of big groups are saying, but those things are things that are people in Europe, in the Philippines, in the Maldives are doing and having success doing, and that North Americans, we could maybe work on talking about how can we pivot our routines to be more environmental friendly, to use less water, because right now we are doing some interesting things when we wash diapers.
In general,
what has inspired you to make the products that you make, especially when it comes to extended sizing diapers, and this like idea about the one niche? She feels, I feel like this trend of extended sizes has not been grasped by the mainstream industry. So I always admire a diaper maker who acknowledges and caters to the needs of the community.
Ooh, okay, so specifically in regards to the extended size, I grew up with a brother who is autistic, or depending on, I know everyone has different terms that he prefers to be referred to as an autistic person. He has autism and he is a person. He's, an autistic person. And I remember, my mom always mentioning about how, because he is the oldest and then there's like three more of us. And she was always saying that after potty training my oldest brother, it was just like, it didn't matter when any of us did it because it was always going to be so much easier because, it wasn't as expensive because it didn't go as long. And then you also have a lot of different brands that they say that they fit up to like 30 or 35 pounds, but then you find out that they're really maxing out around 20 or 25 pounds, depending on the build of your child. And then just the increased prevalence in needing to diaper past the age of like 2 or 3 years old. Like I think the average age is between 3.5 and 4.5 years old right now, like normal average, not even including like the neurodivergent demographic and how it can go further. I wish I could make a diaper that, was even bigger than the one that, I've been working on now. But I just feel like it's something that a lot of people don't talk about because it's just not a fun part of cloth diapering. Of what do I do when my child can't potty train or won't potty train or doesn't have the ability to do so? And now all of the cloth diapers that I was using don't fit. So I wanted to just kind of like, obviously I'm not going to fill the void as a whole, but even if like, I know I put out my big kid diapers back in 2019. Well, yeah, I think so. And in the last 2 years, and I'm not saying that I started a trend or anything, but in the last 2 years, I have seen multiple like small businesses and multiple larger businesses like really start pushing that larger size. Like Alba has always had adult sized cloth diapers, but a lot of people just don't know about it because Alba's like one of those ambiguous, like, oh, you just buy cheap diapers from them and it's fine. But I mean, they've had not even just like for big kids, for actual adults, like people like us or older, not us, like, older people who are disabled.
I think, well, and I would say Katie is that I feel like the trend I feel like it is fairly mainstream. I feel like there are a lot of brands that do have bigger sizes, and having talked with Snap Easy and having talked with other cloth diaper parents who have used larger sizes, the struggle is really with there's a fetish community, and it can make that marketing near impossible to get to the right people without attracting the wrong people. And so I think that's why we don't really know. And like, it's about how she was really struggling to get her products on Amazon because of the word hemp, because of decades of stigma around hemp. And so she's been struggling to get hemp products on Amazon. And so people are struggling to get bigger size diapers and talk about bigger size diapers because of this other community that exists that uses them. And so I think that's it, and we'll never see them mainstream because we're always going to be struggling with stigma.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, every so often I will get somebody who will follow one of my social media accounts, and it's just very blatant that this is not an appropriate account. And I've done it before where I'm like, I'll screenshot it, I'll go through, I'll block that person, and then I will go through all of the, and it takes a while, but
I got a couple of friend requests on my personal Facebook the other day. I was like, because we just, and Thirsties has always had the size 3, and they've expanded into their size 4. Bum Genius goes, their supplies from time to time, and like Grovia has a bigger size. So I kind of, I see a lot of people offering it on the side. Like if they get asked, a lot of times brands need to get asked to be like, you know, like the 5th time they get said, hey, you should make a bigger diaper for me, they might. So if you're like listening and you're wanting bigger diapers or
your favorite brands, we listen. We like it when you tell us what to do.
And tell them what you need, because I also had a conversation with a mom here on the show, and I feel like we ended this conversation that some of the bigger diapers being made don't actually work for how she needs to change her baby or how she needs to change her 6-year-old. So that she needs to be like, hey, you know what? This would be better if you do this. But I think what we're coming up to is some issues with patents in our industry and patents preventing some products being made. So
yeah, I have a love-hate with patents in general. Like I've always considered maybe I should, because I've been making a product a very specific way for almost 6 years now. But at the same time, I'm not here to gatekeep, you know, because I did not invent diapers. I did not invent anything associated with the particular design. Like my background was in costume sewing before I started actually designing and figuring out how I wanted my cloth diaper to look when I started Nerdy Mommas. So like nothing that I was doing was unique. It was just unique based on the configuration that I was putting it into for the product that I was making.
Yeah, and I think that's like what the more I talk with brand makers, the more I learn that, yeah, okay, those 2 diapers look near identical, but actually, you know what, Louise sent back 7 copies and she tweaked. And if you actually compare, the elastic here has been shortened by 1/4 of an inch, and that made a big difference for her, or whatever the adjustments were. Like you can I often put 2 diapers and I'm like, oh, they're near identical. But then you get on the phone with the brand and they're like, well, no, actually, like I kind of, it's like this small, you probably, like, she's like, it made a huge difference, I swear, Bailey. Which are things that as a blogger reviewer, I rarely touch upon, but are part of this like complexities of this industry and the products in it.
But that's also why, like, when I'm designing anything, I always try to go based on, you know, what I like and what I know resonates with other people. But that definitely comes out more so in the prints that I design than in the actual product. Like, you know, you only make a pocket diaper so different from somebody else's pocket diaper. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to try to, like, because it gets to a point where it's like too much innovation creates a product that is almost.
I can't, sometimes I sit down and I'm like, I'm going to write some cloth diaper reviews today. And if I do like 3 pockets in a row, I'm just like, I get so grumpy by the 3rd one because I'm like, these are all the same. There's no point in reviewing any of them. So
in the diaper, you put it in there. That is what you do. Like there's an
elastic, there's it will work. The only thing that I really see like a lot of innovation in it is like all-in-ones and all-in-2 snap-ins is like probably the biggest innovative area that's happening.
All-in-2s confused me for the longest time because everybody has a different definition of what an all-in-2 is, or an understanding of an all-in-2. Like my pocket diaper is technically an all-in-2. I don't supply snap-in inserts because the consensus from everybody in my group was, honestly, I don't even use the snaps all the time.
Is there an internal snap-in?
There is. It's in there. Just don't talk about it.
In the nappy world, they call them snap-in ones, and I've been using that term a lot when I talk about them as like, this is a diaper that has snap-in inserts. Because when I called them an all-in-2, it was like, what WTF are you talking about? So this is a diaper that snaps in. You
exactly.
Can use the snaps if you want. You can use the snaps if you don't.
But then also some all-in snap-in ones, all-in-twos, whatever you want to call them. Some of them have a lining, some of them don't have a lining. So it's like
some of them have a pocket, some of them don't.
Sometimes you can only use it once, because if there's a lining, then it's like, wow, it got wet.
Like, it's just, and that's like the variations, and you figure out what you like. Do you like the lining? Do you not like the lining? I always liked linings because my washing machine would eat PUL, and I felt like a lining protected it.
It's a scary thing about a washing machine. It's like, are you gonna ruin this?
You know what, and it's just one of those things that I gave up on. I was like, well, who knows why this is happening to my PUL.
A bad batch too. Like, I remember back when, so I was 7, so about 6 years ago, when I was like in my sweet spot of like, I know what I was doing and I was figuring out what I liked, because I had gravitated from like my first stash, like we talked about it in the very first interview that we was just a bunch of like Alva pocket diapers, because all I had was $50 to invest, and that got me 10 diapers, which got me through like an entire day of diapering, and I washed them at night. But, you know, after about 6 months into cloth diapering, I was like trying other brands. And there was this one brand, Bale and Jess, or Jess and Bale. I can't remember exactly what the name was, but it was basically a company out of China that was, you know, compliant and certified, safety tested, you know, all the things that we want to see from an manufacturer, from any manufacturer. And it was a really cute, it was an all-in-one, had a microfiber insert, but I wasn't like super crazy about it. But the overall fit was really nice. They had the internal double gussets. This was before the patent was filed that eliminated that from other brands. They worked really well for like 6 months. And then one day I got an order of diapers from them, and I put them through the wash, and all of the PUL fused. You could see it on the outs, because obviously you can't check the inside of an all-in-one because there was no pocket to access. But you could see it had completely wrinkled on the outside, and it looked like it had melted. And I was like, what the heck is going on? This has never happened before. And my water temperature hadn't changed. My wash routine hadn't changed. It was just a new.
You just get a bad batch. And I think the last runs that she tried to do, there was a fabric malfunction, and that's why it never came in stock.
Which can really be detrimental, because it's like, you don't know that that's going to happen until everything gets to you.
And it takes months to go through the process of, and then you have to, sometimes it means you need a whole new factory. And then, so if you're wondering why your brand hasn't released their 4th print, like
it can be a huge hindrance. And that's fun too, because it's like, sometimes I wonder, like, I wonder where these people, this new brand is, you know, getting their diapers made, because it's like such a different cut or whatever. And I think that's the biggest, like, especially between specifically like the Mama Koala and all of the various people that use Mama Koala for manufacturing fulfillment. Like, that diaper is shaped so much differently, like any of my diapers, or like an Alva, or any of the other brands that I've seen. There's another manufacturer that was really popular with I call them the lower rabble co-op brands. That was Mom's Best.
Yeah.
And like very similar to an Alva, but still not exactly the same. Still so different from the Momma.
What I love most, though, like I'm at the end of the day, my biggest question I always have for brands is about like their sourcing of their materials. And that's often where you can see the biggest difference is, I think, so Christine at Little Fanny Pants, when I had her on the show, she was talking a lot about finding the right bamboo fabric and finding the right, and that was the hardest part. And that's kind of what sets apart a lot of these brands that are essentially all using same factories as everybody else, but it just depends on, are they sourcing the right material? Are they sourcing a material that's going to work for families, or are they just being okay with whatever grade they're being given? And that really can make a huge difference in product durability, quality, feel, experience, I feel.
Which all comes down to, you know, the amount of effort that someone puts in. And I'm not saying that, like, I don't want to sound like, oh, we put more effort in, but if you just like, you know, searched for a manufacturer and you just used whatever you could find, versus, you know, you vetted a bunch of different places, like, you know, my quest for a factory originally, like all of my contacts came out of Jimmy's contacts, my husband's contacts, because he developed a whole like sneaker line back in a long time ago when we were here, like almost 100 years ago. But the one interesting thing, I didn't know this, but there's no shoe manufacturers in North America for the most part. Like, you can't find them. Shoes do not get made here. Even if like you can ship like the molded soles and blah, 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 and you can like assemble them here, but you cannot cast an original sneaker sole here in the United States. I don't know if it's different up in Canada or like.
I don't imagine it.
But, his sneakers were custom mold. It wasn't like, he saw somebody else doing something and he's like, I want to slap my logo on that. So, all of his contacts were specifically through there's like 3 major manufacturing districts in mainland China. So, going through them. And then when I told him what I wanted to do, which actually ties into the question about, who is super supportive of me doing this. Jimmy, as soon as I told him, he's like, hey, you can do that. You got this. We'll find, I'll send out an email to a couple of people that I work with and see if they can, give some suggestions on what factories will be able to do what you want them to do. And I got a couple of different options and I looked through them, and it was less about which factory gave the best product and more about which factory had the most insight to give. Like, oh yes, I can tell you exactly where this came from. I can tell you exactly how it was manufactured. We have these options. So it was like, of the 4 different people that I was talking to, 2 of them were like super transparent and super easy to communicate with. And I felt comfortable receiving information from them because it was easy to understand. It was easy to trace. I knew that I wasn't getting low quality fabric, which.
It's so funny you saying this because I literally just had coffee with a brand, and that's why she decided not to go with China, because she had those off-putting conversations. Nobody wanted to be transparent with her. So she was like, all right, I guess we'll find out plan E and figure it out. So it's just like, like when you hear 2 things exactly the same way in a week and you're like, what is this? This is weird.
But, again, I was doing my research from inside of the factory already because I had those contacts, and he had gotten those contacts by going to trade show conventions where literally these companies, these manufacturers will send representatives to the trade shows to look for people who want to, use their services or whatever. So, I had a very unique entry point into being able to manufacture cloth diapers. Would I like to find a manufacturer a little bit closer to home? Yes.
Is it going to happen? No.
No, because that's the other thing too. It's like trade secrets. Nobody wants to tell you where they get their diapers made because nobody wants to, I spent 6-8 months, maybe almost a year, going back and forth between, the company trying to figure out who could do what I wanted, sending out samples, receiving.
It's so much work.
It's a lot of work.
Somebody in my comments the other day was like, I wish that they would display their certifications. And I was like, well, you can just email them and they'll send them to you. Easy peasy. It's super easy. And she's like, no, why can't they just display them on the internet? And I was like, so I asked that. I've asked the brand that question. And she was like, because last time I did, I lost my manufacturer. Because last time I did, I lost my supply. Another brand came in and bought up all the fabric.
Yep.
Another brand came in and bought up all of it. So I don't share that publicly. Yes, I'm willing to show you, Bailey, because you were asking me for it. And that's what I'm legally obligated to do. But I'm not going to just put it out there for anybody to see. So sometimes it can feel really frustrating, like people aren't being transparent, but at the end of the day, this is pretty cutthroat sometimes.
Oh, it is. Like me personally, I had a certain somebody reach out to me because they wanted to act as a third-party retailer for my product. I was like, okay, that's awesome. And they were like, just for, safety and, transparency, I would just like to see the documentation, for safety, quality, blah, blah, blah. So I sent that to this person, and our conversation kind of fizzled. She didn't follow up, which I thought was a little weird. And then 6 weeks later, I get a random email from the girl that primarily coordinates with me on my different prints and stuff and my orders and my products and things. And she's like, just so you know, we would never release your prints to somebody else without your explicit written permission first. And I was like, well, that's strange. I appreciate you letting me know, but is this just coming out of the blue? She's like, oh, well, somebody contacted us. I was like, who? And they're like, well, they didn't really give, like they gave like a name, but that doesn't, they could have given any name to, cover up what they were doing. But it was just like very weird that it came very shortly after.
This is like the 5th time I've heard this story this year. From brands who are like small established brands who are still like, they haven't made it, but they're not beginners anymore. Like, and it's just like, so what, unfortunately we get our guards up, and that's why like the community gets closer and closer, because we don't get collaborative, we get sneaky. And when you're being sneaky, I'm gonna stop talking to you anymore.
But it's hard for me because like I can be a very petty person, just, full disclosure to anybody who doesn't have to be petty. But at the same time, like I know for a fact that the person who did this to me, one, they didn't get what they were looking for, because my manufacturer straight up slammed the door in their face, was like, no, we don't do that here. But this particular entity is still like surviving and thriving in the industry doing what they're doing. And I know for a fact that it's happened to like a couple of other small brands, but they were so small and so naive and innocent that they didn't realize what was happening, and they got taken advantage of. And it was just like, I love to see other people succeed. Like that's another thing that's a bit unique to me and like my brand overall, is that I have no.
Well, I think we're seeing, I call you guys like my little babies sometimes. I think about like this little collection of brands that all started at the same time my brand started. And you guys you're all kind of doing like Rictea, Marie, West Coast Diaper. I mean, I haven't had the pleasure yet of convincing West Coast Diapers to come on the show.
But like, like one of the questions I get on TikTok would be like, why do you talk about other brands? Doesn't that hurt your business? And I'm like, honestly, I'm not talking about another brand that even does the exact same thing that I do. Like when I talk about Noble Baby, like I don't make pre-flats.
2 different businesses.
2 completely different businesses. Or like when I talk about Petite Crown, or when I talk about, Baby Boos or anything like that, like I have a huge love for the women that own those brands. And then I also have a huge love for their product. And it would be really ingenuine of me to present, especially on my TikTok platform, as like I'm the one and only resource for that, because like not everybody is gonna like my prints, and I'm okay with that. Like I've had a couple of people that are legitimately like, I have no clue what this is from, but I love this diaper so much I don't even care. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm glad. Like that's awesome.
What I want somebody else to start a cloth diaper podcast. I don't want to be the only one.
Yeah, right. And then you guys could like have a podcast. I still think that like if we could do like weekly or okay.
I've been going live almost every other week. I've been practicing.
Oh, that's good. Does that mean every 2 weeks, or does that mean twice a week? Because I get conflicting information.
Okay, so I've been trying to go live every few weeks when I get the courage to do it. And I'm always amazed that 10 people come and watch me talk to myself for 40 minutes.
It's like you're talking to yourself. You're talking to those people.
I know, but it takes so long for the questions to come through, and it just...
Oh, I did a whole live a couple weeks ago on my Facebook group, and I hadn't swiped the right way, so all of the comments weren't showing up. So I just assumed people were listening to me and like didn't have any questions. And then all of a sudden I like touched this and swiped over, and I saw all these comments. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry.
The Cloth Diaper podcast is like getting 12 to 1,300 downloads a week right now. And like, it's nuts that there's 1,000 people listening to me talk with my terrible audio quality because I'm just an indie podcast that
I tell everybody all the time, if you want really good information, like I can tell you what you want to hear, but if you want other brands, if you want brand stories, if you want cloth diaper product reviews, like go look at Bailey's stuff. And it's, you want free stuff and you're going to say nice things about the product, but at the end of the day, that doesn't actually like.
I haven't seen any bloggers. I don't know if like Jennifer and I, this is what we're chatting about right now. We don't really know anybody else who's actually blogging as like a full-fledged cloth diaper resource.
And like I can only do so much because again, I am technically tied up in like, I guess, a conflict of interest because I do own a brand. But
I do have, I have got one woman on now who's going to guest post regularly. So I've set her up with an account and a list of topics, and she's just going to write. So my kind of goal is to kind of grow into a media empire more than be the voice. I'd like to transition to having more voices, and I'd like to find a way to pay them. Right now, I don't. I know I said I paid $500 in taxes, but like, I didn't make most of my money through this. So.
I act like the same, like, I would love to design diapers, until my dying breath, but I would love to be able to eventually get other designers, other people that want to be, their own brand and be able to, hi husband.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm kind of, I don't know why, now I'm totally off topic, is like I'm kind of working on building like a how to be a mentor guide. So some of the content that's going to come out this summer, I think, is going to be like a mini book on how to start your own cloth diaper community, how to be a wash routine guru, how to write a review. Like, I'm kind of hoping maybe that will help diversify the voices.
I think it will too. Again, it just comes down, and I don't want to say decolonize, like colonizers, because
well, I'm a white person talking to a Greek person, so
colonized enough to where I guess I can use this term, but decolonizing the culture around wash routine, because like you were saying, it's different once you step out of North America. Like, I had that guest post from one of my guild members who lives in, and like, I love talking to Rizal because she has such like a fresh and innovative perspective that I can like 100% appreciate. And not a lot of people, yeah, but like not a lot of people get the privilege to be able to, travel outside the United States, because traveling is expensive. And even once you get out of the United States, well, now you have to eat and you have to sleep somewhere and you have to travel. So like, there's so many additional expenses that come into play. But like, when you leave your little culture bubble and you see that it's like, the United States is huge. Canada's huge, but I feel like Canada is like, it's huge, but y'all are really spaced out.
Like, you talk about all these mini cultures in the state of Florida, which is why I think we need more powerful micro influencers. We need to stop saying, go to this big group, and we need to start saying, go to the Miami cloth diaper community on Facebook and go get support from moms in your area who can sit down for a cup of coffee with you. Why are we sourcing people out when we can bring them in?
It's weird though, because like I agree with you 100%. My local cloth diaper community, I am an outsider. I am a black sheep. People would rather talk to a mom that, cloth diapered 10, 12 years ago, and she has 6 kids. So obviously she knows what she's talking about. But like, I got myself in trouble because they would say, oh, put half a bottle of vinegar into your washing machine. I'm like, no, don't do that. Or they'd be like, oh yeah, you're going to do a bleach soak and you're going to bleach some, you're going to, no, don't do that.
So when somebody tells me that, I usually go, so create your own damn group. And you've already done that. You've got your own group.
That's why
you're doing your own thing. But if somebody's in your area and they're disagreeing, I'd be like, go create cloth diaper groups like create it for your neighborhood. So Anna and I actually chatted for over 90 minutes, and I brought that down to a 60-minute show, 60 minutes of us chatting about her business, chatting about the cloth diaper landscape and cloth diaper community. Anna is doing some really great things in the cloth diaper space. You can check out her brand, Nerdy Mommas, at nerdymommas.com. She's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. She's on Pinterest. I did her Pinterest. She's everywhere. She's a great brand. She has a no BS approach to cloth diapering, which, if you've been following for 3 years, that's kind of where we landed. 3 years ago, when I started the Cloth Diaper podcast, I wasn't sure where I was going to go. I for sure thought, hey, something's going on here. I don't like this rumor mill. I feel like I'm spun up and caught up in all of this drama, and I never imagined that it would be where we are today. I have launched a giveaway that's going to end on the 27th of July over on the Cloth Diaper Podcast Instagram, and you can win a gift card to any of the brands who have shown up on the show. It is so amazing going back and listening to some of my early shows with Kat, with Taya, with Anna, with everybody else who showed up and supported me in the first year, and to the long roster of brands who are curious about being on the show in the coming year. We have a lot of great new podcasts coming, a lot of great new projects, and hopefully a lot of great new inspiration. So until our next show in 2 weeks, bye!